all other sentient beings, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and omniscience. May they experience happiness, be separated from suffering, and swiftly I will establish them in the state of unsurpassed, perfect, complete, and precious Buddhahood. Thus, until I achieve enlightenment, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. Until death, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. From now until this time tomorrow, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. We take refuge in the kind root Lama and lineage Lamas. We take refuge in the deities and the mandalas of the Yidams. We take refuge in all the exalted Buddhas. We take refuge in the perfect Dharma. We take refuge in the excellent order of the Sanghas. We take refuge in all the noble Dakas, Dakinis, and Dharma guardians, possessors of the eye of wisdom. Until I attain the heart of enlightenment, I take refuge in all the Buddhas. I take refuge in the Dharma, and likewise in the assembly of the Bodhisattvas. As the previous Buddhas embraced the enlightened mind and progressed on the Bodhisattva's path, I too, for the benefit of all sentient beings, give birth to bodhicitta and apply myself to accomplish the stages of the path. In the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha most excellent, I take refuge until enlightenment is reached. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. In the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha most excellent, I take refuge until enlightenment is reached. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. In the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha most excellent, I take refuge until enlightenment is reached. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. May all mother sentient beings, boundless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. May all mother sentient beings, boundless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. May all mother sentient beings, boundless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. Thank you. Okay, so we're been talking about the King of Aspiration prayers. So I'd like to have everybody read a page or two. Does anybody have any questions or comments about anything that we've talked about so far regarding the King of Prayers, or maybe something else related?
Can you hear me now? Oh, you
Yes.
can.
Yes.
Oh, good.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so everybody seems pretty satisfied with what we're doing then. Okay. So can we start by, we're going to read this as we usually do. So Rebecca, would you read page number 1, please? Okay. And then Bhavani, would you read page number 2, please? And I've been keeping a list of what people have read. So I've been trying to make it so that everybody gets to read, a page and not repeat themselves if possible. So then Bhavani, read page 2. Page 3, if William will read page 3, please. And then Tom, will you read page number 4, please? Ed, will you read page number 6? Oh, excuse me, page number 5. Page number 5 for Ed. And then page number 6. So I'll read page number 6. And then page number 7, will Grant read page number 7, please? And page number 8, Michael, will you read page number 8? And page number 9, let's see, everybody's gotten to read again. So Rebecca, will you read page 9, please? So page 1 and 9.
Lance, are we just reading the black text and not the blue?
Yes, please, just the black text, the root text.
All
Okay.
right, so
Yes,
I will confess to you all, I am dyslexic and some of this is challenging. So bear with me.
okay, we will. Thank you. Begin when you're ready.
King of Aspiration Prayers. Samantabhadra's Aspiration of Good Actions. Thank you, dear. Zangcho Monlam. Did I get that right? From I have no idea. From the Gandha Yuha chapter of the Saka Sutra. Was I close?
Close.
Homage to Manjushri the Youthful. To all the Buddhas, the lions of the human race, in all directions of the universe, through past and present and future, to every single one of you, I bow in homage. Devotion fills my body, speech, and mind. Through the power of this prayer, aspiring to good action, all the virtuous ones appear, vivid here before my mind, and I multiply my body as many times as atoms in the universe, each one bowing in prostration to all the Buddhas. In every atom reside as many Buddhas as there are atoms, and around them all their bodhisattva heirs. And so I imagine them filling completely the entire space of reality, saluting them with an endless ocean of praise. With the sounds of an ocean of different melodies, I sing to the Buddha's noble qualities and praise all those who have gone to perfect bliss. To every Buddha, I make offerings of the loveliest flowers, of beautiful garlands, of music and perfumed ointments, the best parasols, the brightest lamps, and finest incense. To every Buddha, I make offerings, exquisite garments, and the most fragrant scents, powdered incense, heaped as high as Mount Meru, arranged in perfect symmetry. Then the vast and unsurpassable offerings, inspired by my devotion to all the Buddhas and moved by the power in my faith in good actions, I prostrate and offer all you victorious ones.
Whatever negative acts I have committed, while driven by desire, hatred, and ignorance, with my body, my speech, and also with my mind, before you, I confess and purify each and every one. With a heart full of delight, I rejoice at all the merits, O Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, Pratyeka Buddhas, those in training, and the Arhats beyond training, and every living being throughout the entire universe. You who are like beacons of light shining through the worlds, who pass through the stages of enlightenment to attain Buddhahood. Freedom from all, I exhort you, all of you protectors, turn the unsurpassable wheel of Dharma. Joining my palms together, I pray to you, who intend to pass into nirvana. Remain for eons as many as atoms in the world, and bring well-being and happiness to all beings. What little virtue I have gathered through my homage, through offering, confession, and rejoicing, through exhortation and prayer, all of it, I dedicate to the enlightenment of all beings. Let offerings be made to Buddhas of the past, and all who now dwell throughout the 10 directions of this universe. Let all who are yet to come swiftly fulfill their wishes and attain the stages of enlightenment and Buddhahood. Let as many worlds as there are in all the 10 directions transform into realms that are vast and utterly pure, filled with Buddhas who have sat before the mighty Bodhi tree. Around them, all their bodhisattva sons and daughters. Let as many sentient beings as there are in all the 10 directions live always and forever in happiness and health. Let all beings meet the Dharma that befits them best. And so may all they hope for be fulfilled.
As I practice the training for enlightenment, may I recall all my previous births and in successive lives through death and rebirth. May I always renounce the worldly life. Training in the footsteps of all the victorious Buddhas, may I bring good actions to perfection, and my moral conduct be taintless and pure, never lapsing and always free from fault. In the language of the gods, Nigas and Yakas, in the language of demons and of humans too, in however many kinds of speech there may be, I shall proclaim the Dharma in the language of all, taming my mind and striving in the paramitas. I will never forget the bodhicitta. May all my harmful actions and the obscurations they cause be completely purified, every single one. May I be freed from karma, harmful emotions, and the work of negativity, and act for all beings in the world, just like the lotus flower to which mud and water cannot cling, or sun and moon that course unheathered through the sky, through the reach and range of the entire universe. I shall pacify completely the suffering of all the lower realms. I shall lead all beings to happiness and work for the ultimate benefit of each and every one. I shall bring enlightenment, action to perfection, serve beings as to suit their needs, teach them to accomplish good actions, and to continue this throughout all the eons to come. May I always meet and be accompanied by those whose actions accord with mine, and in body, speech, and mind as well. May our actions and aspirations always be one.
May I always meet spiritual friends who long to be of true help to me, who teach me the good actions. Never will I disappoint them. May I always behold the Buddhas here before my eyes, and around them all their Bodhisattva sons and daughters, without ever tiring throughout all the eons to come. May the offerings I make them be endless and vast. May I maintain the sacred teachings of the Buddhas and cause enlightened action to appear. May I train to perfection in good actions and practice these in every age to come. As I wander through all states of samsaric existence, may I gather inexhaustible merit and wisdom, and so become an inexhaustible treasury of noble qualities, of skills and discernments, samadhi and liberation. In a single atom, may I see as many pure realms as atoms in the universe. In each realm, Buddhas beyond all imagining, encircled by all their bodhisattva heirs. Along with them, may I perform the actions of enlightenment. And so, in each direction, everywhere, even on the tip of a hair, may I see an ocean of Buddhas, all to come and past, present and future, in an ocean of pure realms. And throughout an ocean of eons, may I enter into enlightened action in each and every one. Each single word of a Buddha's speech, that voice with its ocean of qualities, bears all the purities of the speech of all the Buddhas, sounds that harmonize with the minds of all living beings. May I always be engaged with the speech of the Buddhas.
With all the power of my mind, may I hear and realize the inexhaustible melody of the teachings spoken by all the Buddhas of past, present, and future as they turn the wheels of Dharma. Just as the wisdom of the Buddhas penetrates all future eons, so may I too know them instantly. And in each fraction of each instant, may I know all that will ever be in past, present, and future. In an instant, may I behold all those who are the lions of the human race, the Buddhas of past, present, and future. May I always be engaged in the Buddha's way of life and action through the power of liberation, where all is realized is like an illusion. On a single atom, may I actually bring about the entire array of pure realms of past, present, and future, and then enter into those pure Buddha realms in each atom and in each and every direction. When those who illuminate the world still to come gradually attain Buddhahood, turn the wheel of Dharma, and demonstrate the final profound peace of nirvana, may I always be in their presence. Through the power of swift miracles, the power of the vehicle like a doorway, the power of conduct that possesses all virtuous qualities, the power of loving kindness, all pervasive, the power of merit that is totally virtuous, the power of wisdom free from attachment, and the power of acknowledgement, skillful means, and samadhi. May I perfectly accomplish the power of enlightenment.
May I purify the power of karma, destroy the power of harmful emotions, render negativity utterly powerless, and perfect the power of good actions. I shall purify oceans of realms, liberate oceans of sentient beings, understand oceans of Dharma, realize oceans of wisdom, perfect oceans of actions, fulfill oceans of aspirations, serve oceans of Buddhas, and perform these without ever growing weary through oceans of eons. All the Buddhas throughout the whole of time attained enlightenment through good actions, and their prayers and aspirations for enlightened action, may I fulfill them all completely. The eldest of the sons of all the Buddhas is called Samantabhadra, all good. so that I may act with a skill like his, I dedicate fully all these merits. To purify my body, my speech, and my mind as well, to purify my actions in all realms, may I be the equal of Samantabhadra in his skill in good dedication. In order to perform the full virtue of good actions, I shall act according to Manjushri's prayers of aspiration, and without ever growing weary in all the eons to come, I shall perfectly fulfill every one of his aims.
Let my bodhisattva acts be beyond measure. Let my enlightened qualities be measureless too. Keeping to this immeasurable activity, may I accomplish all the miraculous powers of enlightenment. Sentient beings are as limitless as the boundless expanse of space. So shall my prayers of aspiration for them be as limitless as their karma and harmful emotions. Whoever hears this King of Dedication prayers and yearns for supreme enlightenment, who even once arouses faith, will gain true merit greater still. That by offering the victorious Buddhas infinite pure realms in every direction, all ornamented with jewels, we're offering them all the highest joys of gods and humans. For as many eons as there are atoms in those realms, whosoever truly makes this aspiration to good actions will never again be reborn in lower realms. They will be free from harmful compassions and soon behold the Buddha of boundless light. They will acquire all kinds of benefits and live in happiness. Even in this present life, all will go well. And before long, they will become just like Samantabhadra. All negative acts, even the 5 of immediate retribution, whatever they have committed in the grip of ignorance, will soon be completely purified. If they recite this aspiration of good actions, they will possess perfect wisdom, beauty, and excellent signs, be born in a good family and with a radiant appearance. Demons and heretics will never harm them, and all 3 worlds will honor them with offerings.
They will quickly go beneath the Bodhi tree, and there they will sit to benefit all sentient beings. Then awaken into enlightenment, turn the wheel of Dharma, and tame Mara with all his hordes. The full result of keeping, teaching, or reading the prayer of aspirations of good actions is known to the Buddhas alone. Have no doubt, supreme enlightenment will be yours. Just as the Bodhisattva Manjushri attained omniscience, and Samantabhadra too, all these merits now I dedicate to train and follow in their footsteps. As all the victorious Buddhas of past, present, and future praise dedication as supreme, so now I dedicate all these roots of virtue for all beings to perform good actions. When it is time for me to die, let all that obscures me fade away. So I look at Amitabha there in person and go at once to his pure land of Sukhavati. In that pure land, may I actualize every single one of all these aspirations. May I fulfill them, each and every one, and bring help to beings for as long as the universe remains. Born there in a beautiful lotus flower, in that excellent and joyous Buddha realm, may the Buddha Amitabha himself grant me the prophecy foretelling my enlightenment.
Having received the prophecy there with my billions of emancipations sent out through the power of my mind, may I bring enormous benefit to sentient beings in all the 10 directions. Through whatever small virtues I have gained by reciting this aspiration of good actions, may the virtuous wishes of all beings' prayers and aspirations be instantly accomplished. Through the true and boundless merit attained by dedicating this aspiration of good actions, May all those now drowning in the ocean of suffering reach the supreme realm of Amitabha. May this king of aspirations bring about the supreme aim and benefit of all infinite sentient beings. May they perfect what is described in this holy prayer uttered by Samattabhadra. May the lower realms be entirely emptied. By the blessings of the Buddhas who have attained the three kayas and the unchanging truth of reality, as well as the unwavering aspirations of the Sangha, may all the aspirations and dedication prayers be fulfilled.
Very good. Thank you all very much. Anybody have any comments or questions about any particular part of this? Or about the whole thing in general? Yes. Someone was
I'd
gonna
like
speak.
to ask 2 or 3 questions. The 10 directions, why are they 10 directions as opposed to being the 360 or whatever that we've got that we normally have on a compass face?
Well, do you know what the 10 directions are?
I think they're up and down, right and left, front and back. Well, north and south and east and west. And then the center. It's not the center? No. Then I'm.
Well, the up and down, and then the 4 cardinal points of the compass. So
northeast,
east,
south, and west.
yes, and then the intermediate points of the compass. So
Okay.
it'd be southeast, southwest, northwest, and northeast. So
Okay.
those are the points. So what that is pointing to is a 360-degree sphere.
Okay. Then the other thing that I'd like to question or ask is about the atoms. Were these the same atoms that the Greeks were talked about? And this was written at 500 AD?
BC.
Thereabouts.
BC.
This was written 500 BC?
Correct. Or thereabouts. This was written the time of the Buddha spoke this.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So to answer your question, it was regarded as particles. They talked about particles and they talked about partless particles or partless. Well, that's what they call them, partless particles. So they didn't, I don't know if they had the name atoms, I don't know what that translation was, but that's how they regarded these atoms and subatomic particles, whereas particles and partless particles.
With the small particles that they could see in the air.
But they were able to perceive, at the very least, through their meditation, the temporary existence of particles and partless particles. And whether, we would express that maybe as energy, E equals MC squared, that there's energy, and which is a direct relationship to matter and the speed at which the matter is moving, releases energy and so on. So I'm not that great a scholar by any means to be able to, talk too very much about this, but they were the Buddha and the Buddhists and many other people, it wasn't exclusive, were tuned in to this idea, and to take it a step further into the the observer who influences the outcome of what it is that they are observing. What do we call that? I can't think of the word. What's the name of that word? That kind of mathematics that they talk about, observable. Anybody remember? Gary, you probably remember that. Michael?
About Heisenberg?
No. I can't think of the name.
Analyst.
No, what's the name of the mathematics that everybody has such a hard time with in college?
Calculus.
No,
Calculus.
What is
It's not
it?
calculus.
Calculus.
No, not calculus.
It's
That's not math, but well, I mean, it involves math, but it's physics, geometry.
okay.
Trigonometry,
Trig,
No, when you go into
algebra.
physics,
Quantum.
when you go into physics, you go into the large things, and then you go into the small things.
Quantum physics.
Quantum, right,
Quantum physics.
quantum.
So
Oh,
quantum physics. So
Oh,
the
yeah.
Buddhists were tuned into that, as long as with other people. I mean, it wasn't exclusive, but into quantum physics, that the outcome of an observation is influenced by the observer.
yes.
That's
Yeah,
Heisenberg.
that's exactly it.
So, so to your point was, that this was known 2,600 years ago and maybe beyond that. What was your third question?
I think that was it.
So, okay. So this notion that in a single atom are all these Buddhas, are limitless Buddhas. And then surrounding those Buddhas are all these limitless bodhisattvas. And what's that speak to is to the impenetrable reality of what our phenomenal nature appears to be. And that all this is made up of, all this is the display of the mind of the true nature, what we call Buddha. You might want to call it God. You might want to call it Christ. You might want to call it many different things. But that this mind, then when it displays, when it then coalesces, it becomes all these many myriad illusions of permanence, which in essence, they're all temporary. They're all illusory. So atoms and those structures and so on are all part of that. And they're just made up of this mind of Buddha, surrounded by bodhisattvas. And the bodhisattvas are a human mind that is, in the midst of trying to either penetrate those appearances or to be able to liberate from those appearances.
Does this mean that when we're talking about particles, like when you were talking about particles and small particles or particles?
Partless. And then that's alluding to waves. That's what that is. That's alluding to waves.
Well, all of this stuff wasn't known then. And
Wait a minute. How do you know that?
How do I know that?
Yeah.
Well,
if it wasn't known then, how was it written? How was it put into into this particular prayer?
Now, wait a minute, what was put into this particular prayer? Let's go back a couple of steps, okay? First, you're talking about particles, which are humongously larger than an atom.
Well, it depends how you define it, isn't it?
Well, well, if you're going to say that they knew that there was light waves and light particles, then you're talking about photons, which are smaller than atoms. So I don't quite believe that they had that, because if they had this knowledge that we have right now, they would have it in some type of book format or something that would be more to the point. I'm my own personal opinion is I'm thinking that these fellows took a lot of liberty when they started translating this back and forth. And not that it's wrong to think small, but I don't think that they were in quite the small that we have today.
Okay.
Although everything is the same today as it was back then.
Well, are these things that you're expressing, are they concepts?
Wait a minute now, let me think about that. I'm going to say no, because an atom is a firm, viable thing, and a particle is a firm, viable thing. They are, in essence, the same thing.
Okay. Would anybody else like to comment on that?
Which are non-existent because of the philosophy that we have here.
Would somebody else like to comment on this?
Well, if you negate this argument,
If they're phenomena, haven't we said that phenomena aren't viable? I
Okay.
mean, what does viable mean? Does it mean that it's real? I think we're talking around a lot of things, and I understand why, because I do it all the time. But I think that basically, in an important way, quantum physics proved that the Buddha was right about everything, about emptiness and about phenomena and about impermanence. Science, paradoxically, based on an empirical approach, has proved that has proved impermanence. The solar system, this universe, it's going to end. Nothing is permanent. And so particles are, whether they are atoms or electrons or photons, are phenomena, are they not?
Well, I think so. I think that's the way it's defined.
Isn't that the world that we live in Buddhism?
Yes, I think so. Would somebody else like to speak about this? Thomas, I know Thomas was trying to speak at the same time. So Thomas, did you have a point to make?
well, you're trying to, in my mind, what you're trying to do is negate his argument by saying, aren't those concepts? But aren't the words that you were reading in the text also concepts?
Absolutely.
Well, you just mentioned about the Earth and the galaxies and all of that is impermanent. But these people were talking more local than galactic or even further than galactic. Because this stuff started from nothing and it's going to go back to nothing sometime.
Okay, well, it's certainly the subject for debate. You know,
What does it
so
mean?
the I think a basic point that is made in the Dharma is that as human beings, we have limitations in our being human beings. However, we can transcend our human nature. We can transcend our human awareness, our human mind, through our meditation practice, through true meditation, not just contemplation, but being able to move past contemplation into a timeless and locationless dimension that we attain in samadhi. That's what samadhi is. And in that state, we become the mind of the Buddha, for lack of a better word. That's the word that's used here. But that word could be replaced with many other words, such as true nature, could be replaced with God, could be replaced with Christ, whatever religious figure or what have you, that is a transcendent figure. And when we experience that, we have to suspend all attachment to all these things, all these appearances. And then we have this experience of this non-conceptual, and then we come back to our ordinary life. If we're still living, you know, we did this during a meditation practice, we come back. Now we have to rationalize this with our ordinary mind to ourselves and to other beings. And then we create all these concepts to try and do that. But they all just, they never quite grasp all of it. And that's repeated over and over again in the prayers and the practices. I'm sorry, somebody was trying to say something.
The big concept seems to be transcendence. A nut can't crack itself.
Say that again.
A nut cannot crack itself.
Okay.
When I'm saying a nut, I'm not talking a crazy person. I'm talking about a physical nut. It takes an outside force to crack the nut. So I don't, this transcendence is something that has eluded me.
The nut cracks itself as it grows.
Well, this is, you know, this is the stuff of philosophers, you know, Buddhist philosophers or contemporary philosophers, whatever, you know, this is all about, you know, mind theory and so on. Does the mind exist? Can the mind recognize itself? You know, all these questions come about in this, you know, investigation. And, you know, books and books and books and books, libraries are filled with stuff about this.
But those are questions we're asking ourselves.
Right. Until we get to the point of exhaustion. And that's the invitation. You know, we all have to seek it ourselves. That's what the Buddha has said. You know, and this is something I can't say that some of the other, you know, great beings have said, but Buddha is well known to have said, look, don't take my word for all this. You investigate this yourself. You experience your true nature.
You know, I'm really struck in this is just a general comment
Mhm.
All right, this prayer is called the King of Aspiration prayers. And the level of aspiration here is so much higher. I mean, the level of aspiration is for perfection.
Transcendence.
The prayer, and this is a huge leap from the prayer, the kind of prayer that I'm been mostly associated with in a Christian tradition, which doesn't seem to reach so high. I mean, it's more a matter of, let me make some progress along this path. Let me be a little better than I was yesterday.
The pilgrim.
Well,
And
go ahead.
somehow when I've got to make this big a leap, I mean, all of a sudden I've got to, I just have trouble with that. I guess that's because it's new to me to aspire to perfection. Perfection is something that I don't know. I struggle toward with in my background with the awareness that I'm never going to completely get there. But
Well, here's the subtitle.
Yeah.
There's the title, The King of Aspiration Prayers.
Right.
And then the subtitle, look on page 1, is The Aspiration of Good Actions.
Okay. Well, I'm not taking issue here. I'm just trying to make a jump myself.
No, and I'm trying to point out the practicality of this prayer from the point of view of good actions.
Okay.
That if we are behaving with good actions, now we have less to be able to distract us.
Yes.
Thereby giving us more time or more effort, more ability to be able to crack that nut.
Okay. I guess my own experience has been one of, in the tradition I've been nurtured in, Rebecca, she's it's one of asking for small progress. Let me grow a little every day. Here's an aspiration where let me just go to the top of the mountain, and this way and that way and the other way. It's a big leap for me to get.
Do you remember when we first started this, and we talked about that this was a result of Manjushri?
Okay.
Manjushri, do you remember the story? So now it's good. Now we're going back and we're starting at the beginning. We're going back to the beginning to remember what the context of all this is.
Okay.
That the Bodhisattva, that this youthful, very intelligent, very curious Bodhisattva, whose name is Manjushri, was looking for how to attain enlightenment. How do I do this? And so he starts going to all these different teachers and asking for, the prayer. Give me the prayer.
Yeah.
And he went to 100 different teachers.
Right.
And each one of those teachers gave him some prayer that was some aspect of the totality of this. As you're pointing out, I just want little pieces of this. And then finally, he wasn't satisfied. Manjushri wasn't satisfied until he found Samantabhadra. And Samantabhadra was the oldest, if you will, of the Bodhisattvas, the closest to being Buddha, who gave him this, the king of prayers. And this was like the summation of all those 100 prayers, all combined into one prayer for Manjushri.
I thought Samantabhadra was a fictitious character, symbolic character, not a real person.
Manjushri and Samantabhadra, these are bodhisattvas. So yes, these are meditational deities that manifest in all human beings. that can manifest and that are present. The potential is there. And I know Michael wants to say something. So it's with that in mind that, yes, these are all part of ourselves. So as we go in and as we are seeking that experience and purifying ourselves, we become these bodhisattvas. Michael, you wanted to say something?
So all these little bits and pieces lend themselves to this grand package of aspirations that have us aspiring towards our true nature. So it reads as if it's describing what the experience of being Buddha is.
Mm.
And it's all of this. And it's all magnificent. And at the same time, it's all already there. So the aspiration is to sort of know that this is already true. It's already happened. It's already part of our nature if we gain access to it. So I look at it as a description of what the Buddha's experience is, what the Buddha can do. The Buddha knows that on the tip of a hair, there's an atom. And between those particles of an atom, there are 850,000 Buddhas between each particle. And between each Buddha is another whole series of Buddhas. So we wonder if he knew anything about subatomic particles. He knew below subatomic particles. The quantum particle is a particle. Below quantum particles are waves, and waves are energy. And I think the Buddha was very hip to energy. And he knew that there was no end, that you could slice and dice the universe and not find its essence. And that's emptiness.
You could
So
make a
if you-
Buddha
Excuse me 1 second, just to underline what Michael just said about the Buddha here. If you look at page 8 at point 3, the benefits in brief. And it says the full result of keeping, teaching, or reading this prayer of aspirations of good actions is known to the Buddhas alone. And that should be period. Then it says, have no doubt, supreme enlightenment will be yours. For the Buddha to become Buddha, the Buddha went through this whole process of Manjushri, going and getting the 100 aspiration prayers and finally becoming Samantabhadra, and then discovering the king of aspiration prayers. And then there was that leap, if you will, well, let's leave it at a leap, that then goes from being a bodhisattva to becoming a Buddha, to becoming pure nature.
Well, thank you to you and Michael. That helps, but it's still it's still a leap, right? Right.
Well, Ed and everybody, this is why we read these things over and over again. We recite these things over and over again. You know, in one reading, we're not going to get it. There's too many subtleties here.
Right. Right.
So, you know, myself, you know, I've been reading this every day for the past 2 or 3 months. Mm-hmm. And every day I find something new and inspirational here. Some little light goes on every time I read this. I recite this, I recite it out loud. It's magnificent. And my teacher, he instructed us all, the Sangha, he says, I want you to recite this every day for a year. Because he knows that there will be a transformation. He knows that there will be many lights turning on. As a matter of fact, if you look at page number 9, look at page number 9 at the very top, point number 5. It says, having received the prophecy there with my billions of emancipations sent out through the power of my mind, may I bring enormous benefit to sentient beings in all the 10 directions. So there's going to be all these emancipations, all these misconceptions, all these habitual tendencies, all these confusions are going to be released.
Another thing, if I may inject, Ed, the things that you were working with before, somebody else was doing it for you. And that's one of the things that
I don't know what you mean.
the Christians that, like my son says, believe in Jesus and he'll do everything for you. He'll take care of you, da, 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 da. And this is the concepts that you were working with before. Now the concept is, wait a minute, I have to do this for myself. Nobody else is going to do it for me. Nobody else can help me. And nobody can do it for me. I'm going to have to do it myself. I'm going to have to pull myself up by my bootstraps. And I'm going to have to get to work. And I'm going to have to do this. Because, you know, I can do a lot of things for you. I can give you food. I can even feed you, change your diapers. I can talk for you to other people. I can interpret things back and forth for you. I can't breathe for you. And what we're doing right now with these aspirations and these prayers and the Buddha stuff is we're doing for ourselves.
So it's like our air.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's one of those things that
We're also doing it to help others. In the next verse after what you just read, Lance, it says, through whatever small virtues I have gained by reciting this aspiration of good actions, may the virtuous wishes of all beings, prayers, and aspirations all be instantly accomplished. So part of what we're doing this for is to help everyone.
Right. And that's to develop and sustain our focus on selflessness, that everything that we do is for the benefit of others.
including feeding ourselves.
Yeah. So Ed, I think, wanted to make a comment.
Including washing our clothes.
Okay. I think Ed wanted to make a comment.
Yeah.
Ed, were you going to say
Well,
something?
I don't want to take us down a path here that we, you know, that's not relevant to why we're here, but William, appreciate your comments. I don't make a distinction between where I was and where I am in terms of one faith tradition or another. I mean, I'm trying to grow as a Christian, and I'm trying to know more about Buddhism. I mean, which is a new tradition to me.
And one is not exclusive of the other.
Exactly. I'm not trying to graduate from one to the other, and I was there and now I'm here.
Yeah.
I don't perceive, and I don't, again, this is not, we don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but I have not perceived Christianity or any religious tradition I've been exposed to as it would all be done for me, as opposed to Buddhism, where I now do it for myself. I mean, in terms of pulling myself up by the bootstraps, I mean, that's a constant message that I've gotten from Christianity ever since I've been exposed to it. So I don't see that as a distinction. I mean, it's bootstraps wherever you are. I mean, I don't see any religious tradition is just giving it to me. But I don't want this to turn into,
All right, let's not get into, talking about this. I understand, I appreciate what you're saying, Ed, and I think you're right. And it's all a matter of point of view, isn't it? What William is saying is true in a certain point of view,
yes,
but not everybody has that point of view.
right.
So it's as relative as anything else in this world. So we need to understand that too. And
Well, I think for me, for example, to be in a group like this with just, here's Thomas in the middle of my screen. I mean, and somebody who's been a Buddhist his whole life, who is seeped in that tradition. And I want to learn more about that perspective, about what that means to him. But I'm not there. I'm not necessarily trying to get there. I'm not trying to, I'm not, well, I look at all of this as broadening my horizons. And I'm glad for the experience. I apologize if I'm imposing my ambiguities on other people.
No, it's great. This is what we're here for, is to have these kind of discussions and air things out and hear ourselves and so on. Yeah.
And William, I do appreciate what you said. It's not entirely how I see it, but that's fine. That's fine.
All right. Well, I'd like to move on, but at the same time, I don't want to stifle anybody's expression. So does somebody have something, that they'd like to say about this right now?
Well, a thought that occurs to me is that in the symbolic sense, our internal Manjushri is that process of amalgamation of all of this information and the harmonization of it and the ferreting out of discrepancies so that it's all in alignment. So that's our process. That's our internal Manjushri of our internal development.
Correct. We're seeking clarity. We're seeking clarity. And when we attain clarity, we attain levels of clarity. It's like a glass that is full of muddy water. Where is it clearest? It's clearest at the top, but at the bottom or in the middle, it's still murky. But if you let it sit there long enough, then that which is in the middle will then become more like the top, will become clearer and clearer and clearer. So the clarity comes over time, over investigation, over resting. So clarity is one of the characteristics that we are developing. We are learning to recognize clarity, and that clarity has levels to it.
If I can piggyback on what Thomas just said, it strikes me that part of that investigation is the experience of going through the investigation.
Yeah,
sure.
And to have someone hand you, here's the punchline, right? All 100 prayers, they're all in here, right? All you have to do is read this. You're there, right? May not be, as effective as having gone and gotten each of those 100 prayers.
That's true. So, but does this not give you an inspiration to maybe look for those 100 prayers?
No, this one isn't doing it for me.
Okay.
Say that again, Rebecca, say that again.
Just kind of receiving this like it's the, I don't want to say punchline, but like it's the culmination, is leaving something missing for me. To me, there's like a lot of symbolism in here that makes sense maybe if you've been through the experience of investigating stuff, but it's not getting me the concept. I feel like I'm seeing a lot of wrapper.
Seeing a lot of what?
A lot of a wrapper
Okay.
around what it's a lot of, it's like analogies all the way down.
Okay.
We're trying to use words, ordinary
Yes.
words, to explain or to conceptualize something that cannot be conceptualized through words. We're trying our best. The Buddha, when he awakened, he paced for days and days and days, contemplating. How can I possibly explain something that's not explainable, that you have to conceptually experience and realize? Through study, contemplation, practice, and meditation. You have to do it on your own. He can give you the outline of how to do it, but you have to actually get off that couch and do it. And that's not always easy. I mean, that's half the work, getting off the couch.
And everybody's got their own schedule. Everybody's got their own way of approaching this. So what might work for one person doesn't necessarily work for another person. So, a problem for us is to, well, how do we present this that is going to be, accepted by as many people as possible? So, there's going to be a little bit of trial and error. Some people are going to get it. Some people aren't going to get it. Some people one day are going to all of a sudden get what they didn't get before. But you got to try.
Somebody maybe Rebecca, I'm not sure, used the word delivered, which I think is, that's significant to me. I mean, I'm seeing this is not something that can be delivered. This is something that has to be engaged and experienced. I can't just say, and maybe that's my issue. And all of a sudden having this aspiration. I mean, I haven't experienced it. I haven't engaged it. I haven't, and maybe that's why you have to read it repeatedly. I mean, it can't just be delivered.
You just can't plug in.
I found myself as we were reading this tonight, thinking that it sounds like the perfect exclamation of a person who's just gone, oh my God, I get it.
Mhm.
And I see it everywhere. And I see, and it's Buddha's all the way down.
Yeah.
And and I want it to be everywhere. Like, I want to rewrite this in kind of my own words, but it just seems like it's like, oh, it's so fantastic. And,
Yeah.
but it doesn't say what it is.
Well, let me ask you a question. Say you were to do that. You were going to rewrite this. Would you be just reading this intellectually and then regurgitating it in some other pattern of words and so on without experiencing it?
I think I would be getting to the heart of what I understood him to be saying. Right? Because the language that's used here, it just isn't resonating for me. And I have been toying with the idea of seeing if I could rewrite it in a way that it was more evocative for me.
You should do it. You should do it. I think it's a great idea. And anybody who wants to should do it for themselves. Absolutely. If you come into my room here, you'll see all kinds of things that I write all the time. And I hate to throw them away. I say, oh my God, I wrote that 5 years ago. But they're like children to me. They were part of my progression.
Yep.
But now they seem crazy, but I think that's part of the process.
Yes.
So the academic in me is disturbed by the, no, hang on. The academic in me is disturbed by the idea that I would be interpreting a translation and I don't know the source. Right?
The source is the Buddha.
No, the source of this language. This is a translation. Like, this is why I learned Hebrew, because I could not bear to read.
Well, then you'd
The-
have to
the
go and learn
Bible-
Pali. You'd have to go and learn Pali.
Yeah, I don't know if I got time for that right now.
Well, so then you got to rely on what you got.
Well, and so I've been looking for other translations to see if I could find the commonalities, right?
Well, you can Google this, you know,
I
King of
did.
Aspiration prayers.
I got a stack of them.
And if you want the you know, go to the Lhasa house, and the Tibetan language is there. But the Tibetan language is based on the Pali. So there's a translation of a translation of a translation. And that's the problem with any of these, you know, scriptures that come from, you know, the ancient past. The point is, you got to experience them. Then you can write it in your own words as best as you can, enable yourself to be able to express what it is that you're trying to say, what you experienced.
I read a quote somewhere, something of a man cannot put his foot in the same river twice because it's not the same river and he's not the same man.
True.
You know, and that's, so we're all on a journey.
That's right.
So I guess my previous experience is that when I began to read what Ed would call the Old Testament in Hebrew, I was somewhat shocked that what I had been told it meant all my life was not what was in the Hebrew.
Mhm.
And so with that lesson under my belt, that you cannot necessarily trust the translator not to be selling an agenda.
Right.
I find myself sometimes stymied with things that are translated.
Oh, with this too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I've got 3 different translations, English translations of this text right here in front of me right now. And they come from a different point of view of each of the different translators. The one that we're using came from a committee, if you will, an authorized committee of scholars who
So
said,
we're definitely doomed.
so here is this translation here. But then I got another one that came from one person singly, and then came from another one that came from another person singly, that was guided by somebody else or a group of people somewhere along the line. And there are different, you know, in certain stanzas, there is a definite skew. And it's interesting to do that. This one here, I think, you know, for our purposes now, as an introduction, is the simplest, the most direct, and maybe the purest, but, you know, maybe there's something else. But we got to start somewhere. And look, we're having this great discussion. If we didn't have read this, we wouldn't be having this discussion. How valuable is this discussion? Or do you think it's a waste of time? What do you think?
Not a waste of time. Not for me, anyway.
All right. So at least in that, this succeeded.
Yeah. What about for you, Thomas? I mean, having been in this tradition,
You talking about Tom?
Tom, forever. What is this a worthwhile discussion for you personally?
Oh, certainly. Certainly. I mean, it's riled up our emotions, and this definitely got us, you know, talking in the right direction, you know. I mean, we have to contemplate all these things, exhausted. You know, that's our mind, our human mind, you know. And once that's done, maybe our heart mind will start opening up. When that opens up, oh boy, Ed, it's a different game.
Right.
All right. If I can use this as a segue, at least for tonight, to capture this next part here. On page 5, this is where we left off, page 5, section 12. So, and this is the perfect segue. because just like what Tom said, we're kind of getting a little bit emotional. I am, you can see me, I get right into it, and it says here, this is the aspiration to the power of enlightenment through the 9 powers. And those 9 powers are what? It's very energizing. So it says here, through the power of swift miracles. I'll let all this speak for itself. The power of the vehicle like a doorway. What is the vehicle? We are the vehicle. Our body, speech, and mind is the vehicle. We are the one who is going through this whole, the journey. We're on this journey. We're the vehicle. Like a doorway. And what does a doorway do? It takes you from one room to another room. The power of conduct that possesses all virtuous qualities. If we engage in non-virtue, how far do you think we would get anywhere in this process? Or do you think that this is an endeavor of virtue? And what we are trying to do is to recognize that and to sharpen, practice our virtue. Make the virtuous choices. If anybody wants to argue any of this, speak right up. Then the power of loving kindness, all pervasive. That love is the all pervasive, is the thing that we can all recognize. Animals recognize a love. Killers can recognize a love. Liars can recognize a love. All pervasive. The power of merit that is totally virtuous. The merit that is the activity of that love, the result of that love, the merit that is accumulated from that love. And that all of us, I'm sure, all of us have a great deal of merit. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here tonight, right now, together like this. This is an expression of our merit. If you didn't have this merit, you'd be out doing something else. The power of wisdom, free from attachment. That to whatever degree we all are leaving some things behind. We're giving up attachment to some other things to get to this, because this is all very nebulous in many ways, very ethereal, very subtle. It doesn't have any meaty substance that I can hold on to that makes me feel good. It's not like a bowl of ice cream that's going to satisfy me for the next hour. But my head might be going around like this for the next couple days. You don't know why. The power of knowledge, skillful means, and samadhi. The power of knowledge, of seeing, negativity, seeing positivity, seeing the dichotomies of our mindfulness, of the things that happen. The skillful means, the method in which we approach this, in the way that we bring in our intellectualism, the way we open up our intellectualism. And the samadhi means that one-pointed mindfulness that really allows us to dive into it and to let it kind of consume us, or we're consumed in it. And then out of that comes this transcendence, comes out this rising up of being from wherever it was that we came from, that now we're looking at it from a different point of view. May I perfectly accomplish the power of enlightenment. So this power, this transformation, this power of enlightenment, of bringing light to where there was darkness, enlightenment. And right now, there's all different gradations of that for each one of us, different colors, all these different things. And because we're all, we have different points of view, we have different places that we're coming from and so on, but maybe we're trying to get to this spot, but we can appreciate this. So these 9 powers is what maybe is that is encapsulated with this conversation that we're trying to have here.
And, I see it, God, there's just, we already possess Buddha nature, we just have to recognize it. Saying we need these powers, it just, for me, once again, I think it maybe has to do with preference for sutras. And it's a very dualistic sutra, and where I might like the Heart Sutra and the Perfection of Wisdom Sutras. Other people might like this King of Aspiration prayers. I think maybe it comes down to somewhat of a personal preference in the language that it uses to convey concepts.
Okay. I think in essence, that's what it is. That's what all of this is a way to convey concepts in order for us to be able to liberate ourselves from those concepts.
Yes, that seems a bit of a conundrum.
Well, it is. It sounds like that, doesn't it? And it is. And being able to sort that out and being able to see our dualistic nature and be able to see that it's 2 sides of the same hand, but we're bound up just looking at one side of the hand and think we got it. That's the problem.
The sentence where the power of merit there is totally virtuous, and the power of wisdom, free from attachment. Those are 2 accumulations that we need for enlightenment. Merit and wisdom. Merit and wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean by accumulation?
To accumulate merit?
Well, accumulation is when you are,
To gather?
experiences. You're gathering experiences. You're gathering processes. You're gathering thoughts. Experiences, like I just said. And you're accumulating these, and they become, your library. Your emotions, all these accumulations. But at the same time, there's positive accumulations, there's negative accumulations.
So habitualness.
Say it again.
More like habitualness.
Recognizing our habitualness is part of that, yes.
But establishing a habitualness, if you will.
Well, true, but that can change too, right?
Yeah. No, I'm just trying. You've both used the word accumulation in a way that suggests it has sort of a specialized meaning in this context, as opposed to like I've accumulated stuff on my desk. And I wanted to make sure that I got the nuance that seemed to be lurking there.
Well, yeah. So here we're talking about, accumulations of being able to understand ourselves, and how the human mind works.
It's accumulating Buddha points, Rebecca.
Yeah.
What does merit mean here? It seems like all of these are merits.
Buddha points.
Well, I don't know. Look up merits. What does merits mean? You
Power
know,
of merit
they're
is
good.
open.
There's either merits or demerits, right? You know, so the merits are like money in the bank. You know, your good deeds that will help you, you know, in times of difficulty, just like money in the bank may help you in times of difficulty. You go to the bank and you bring out some money to help you. When you're going through turbulent times, emotional times, your merit may be what helps you to win the day during those emotional times. The accumulation of merit. The accumulation of merit. And all these, see, this is all part of the thing. To be able to establish a new vocabulary for yourself.
Okay.
To look up all these words and make your own dictionary, make your own glossary.
But that
Oh,
accumulation
don't
of
make me
merit,
do that.
Well, you want to write another book, why not?
Ugh.
Thomas, what were you going to say?
that accumulation of merit is the virtuous activities of the body, speech, and mind.
Sure.
When something is spoken of having merit, the basis of the merit was that some virtuous activity was had been generated, had been performed. So as one accumulates a history of virtuous activity, that's the accumulation of merit.
You know, if you go to a dictionary for any given word, say the word compassion, for instance, and you go to a dictionary, you open it up, and you may see a definition, number one, but then, and maybe we're satisfied with definition number one. But then we might read down and find out that there's maybe 6 different definitions for the word compassion. But
There's over 50 different Bibles.
well, so my point is, you know, that it's all a matter of relative interpretation, isn't it? And what we're
No.
doing is we're drilling down into deeper and more subtle interpretations. And sometimes the standard women and sometimes the standard dictionary isn't going to do it. Sometimes you need to have a book, a spiritual book that goes in and talks about compassion from a Buddhist point of view.
Non-virtuous activity is not meritorious. It's not a subject to argument.
You lost me there. I'm sorry.
Non-virtuous activity is not meritorious.
So what's non-virtuous about what we're talking about?
Please. How many years have you been at this?
I don't understand your point.
I'm just going to leave it at that. Self-evident to me.
Well, do you think that investigation is non-meritorious, is negative?
No, you're going down a rabbit hole.
Well, I don't understand.
Well, we'll leave it at that for right now.
Okay. Somebody want to explain it? Okay. You know, from my perspective, anything is worth looking into. You know, that's one of the things that I liked about Buddhism, is that nothing was out of bounds. Nothing was mysterious, left as being mysterious. Oh, we can't go down there. That's too mysterious. You gotta be this, you gotta be that, you know. But with Buddhism, what I found is that everything is worthy of investigation. Everything needs to be brought into the light. And what we do with it in the light is to make it wisdom. even that which is might be repugnant to us. So it goes to the point that I think William was trying to make before, when he was saying some people try and define things for us, and they become the conduit by which we have to experience some supernatural or some spiritual thing. They're the ones who's going to tell us what it is. And without them, we're not going to be able to do it. Well, from my personal experience, I need to do that myself.
So then you know what meritorious activity is and non-virtuous activity. You know that already.
Well, if you're saying that, if I go around killing somebody or killing people, that's certainly non-virtuous activity. And
And it's not
there's
meritorious.
no merit out of that. But if I can still think about it. I can
That's
think
not-
about it from the point of view of trying to understand it and
That's
trying to understand.
discursive thought.
And try and understand what the emotions are, what the motivations for it are, and so on like that.
But you agreed that murdering someone is non-virtuous activity,
Well, of
which
course.
is also non-meritorious.
Well, of
Doesn't
course,
generate merit.
of course. Otherwise, that's the extreme of eternalism, of nihilism.
So the accumulation of merit is the accumulation of virtuous activities.
Correct. And investigation is a virtuous activity, whatever it investigates.
I wanted to find out from Tom. You were talking about the Indian Buddhism. What did you feel was different from the Indian Buddhism and the Tibetan Buddhism?
Well, Tibetan Buddhism has a mixture of shamanism that's from the Bon tradition. It's been brought together because Bon was originally in Tibet before Buddhism. In India, where the Buddha taught originally, the Buddhism that was practiced there is different because of that influence is not there.
Well, it's not true. It is there, and it's maybe not as pronounced, but there are lots of shamanistic deities that have been incorporated into the Buddhist iconography. Not the least of which is Parnashavari. Parnashavari was a shamanistic goddess in Eastern India that got incorporated into the Buddhist iconography. So that's just one example.
Well, it's like the smoke offerings that they do in Tibetan Buddhism. That came from the Bon tradition.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah, they certainly borrowed from a lot of things. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And same with in Korean Buddhism, where they talk about, they also, if you go into a Korean temple, you'll always see a huge portrait of Indra. Indra is the king of the gods. And if you go into a Tibetan Buddha temple, there's no picture or a thing about Indra. And then now they speak of Indra's webs, how, and there's different stories of how Indra comes in different forms and speaks with ordinary beings and helps them out and stuff. But all depends on the country that you go into, and the influences.
Okay, let me move on, please. So move on to part number 13, page 6. Because we just talked about the powers, these 9 powers, aspiration to the power of enlightenment through these 9 powers that we kind of, just spontaneously develop. Then 13 is the aspiration to the antidotes that pacify the obscurations, the antidotes that pacify the obscurations. We have these obscurations, we have these negativities, we have these confusions, and there are these antidotes that pacify them. So it says, may I purify the power of karma. Karma is our action. And that action can be positive or negative, but it's our attachment to either one that becomes like a ball and chain for us. May I purify the power of karma, whether it's positive or negative. May I destroy the power of harmful emotions. Render negativity utterly powerless and perfect the power of good actions. So we're going through this evaluation, this constant evaluation of everything that we're doing, which is karma, creating karma for ourselves. And what we begin to do is we begin to simplify and make less and less karma.
Including even good karma.
What's that?
Including even good karma.
Correct. Correct. Because good karma can become corrupted. So we take that temptation away from ourselves, so to speak, by being able to say, well, I don't need that either. So becoming selfless again by doing for others, for doing for the good of others, takes our ego to some degree out of the equation.
In America, you can do that by buying less,
Well, there's a lot of different ways of doing it.
consuming less.
Okay. So then number 14 is the aspiration to enlighten activities. I shall purify oceans of realms, liberate oceans of sentient beings, understand oceans of Dharma, realize oceans of wisdom, perfect oceans of actions, fulfill oceans of aspirations, serve oceans of Buddhas, and perform these without ever growing weary through oceans of eons. So what this is saying is it's unceasing. Samsara is unceasing. This phenomenal nature is unceasing. But we have to kind of navigate our way through it, dealing with all this, purifying as we go, and figuratively rising up to the top, to the top, to the top, where there's less attachment and aversion, so that we can make that leap to become our true nature, what we call Buddha, which has no ego.
We already have Buddha nature.
We have it, but our ego is dominating it.
When we control our mind, we control our ego.
Well, maybe. I think we have to investigate that. It's a circle that keeps coming round. until you
just
can
don't-
say, there's nothing more I can say.
The phrase Lance the detective just
Well,
went across.
no, it's Thomas the detective and Ed the detective and Michael and Gary, and every one of us has to be our own detective. Everyone does this for themselves. So what the Buddha has done is giving us a system by way we can do this, a systematic way to proceed down this path.
And you're
That's the
going,
gift. What's
then
that?
you're going to the eightfold path.
Right. Well, that's all part of it. And that's the gift of the Dharma. That's the gift of Buddha, is this system. Now, there's been other great leaders that had some kind of system, and they declared, their divinity or whatever like that, or maybe others declared it for them. But, how articulate is it?
So,
Can
so
this-
Lance,
Wait a minute.
Lance,
Can
Okay.
this be applied? Can this be applied to other systems? Yes, Grant.
so this is sort of a little bit of a segue, but so this prayer is important in our lineage, our school, whatever, Kagyu lineage. Is that true? It's prominent.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so just that. I mean, I need to give it more time.
It is.
I
It is in all of Buddhism, not just Tibetan Buddhism, but it is in all of Buddhism. This is a fundamental prayer. This is part of the Avatamsaka Sutra, which is a very profound book. The English translation is a book like this. And this is the last chapter of that book. So, like I said, this is meant to be recited. It's a meditation. Every part of this is a meditation. You can say, I'm going to recite this today, and you sit down to do it. Takes 20 minutes or so to recite it, but then you get in the middle of this, and your mind just kind of goes with what's being said here, and it becomes a meditation for you. You have each one of these stanzas, each one of these points here are meditations unto themselves. And this is how we accumulate wisdom. And then we use these things to evaluate what we're doing, what our behavior is, what our conduct is. And we say, oh, I haven't been behaving quite right. Or, oh, yeah, let me pat myself on the back. I've been doing a pretty good job. And again, that's the gift of this system. There's pointing out instructions, and there's also affirmations. There's lots of biographies and so on. That's what this tradition is rich in. So we're not going to go into tonight. We're going to end here. But just the next point is the aspiration for training. How to emulate the Buddhas, to emulate the Bodhisattva Samantabhadra, to emulate the Bodhisattva Manjushri, what the concluding aspiration is, and the extent, and so on. So you can see all this detail in here.
Is there some commentary that is available for this?
Oh, yeah. Drupal Tinley Ningpo gave a 2 or 3 month commentary on this, 2 hours every Sunday, and it's available on YouTube.
And you give that citation in the chat box? or
Um,
an email? Email?
Yeah, I can do it. Michael put these things up.
And also the name of that sutra, the English translation, whether it's from Powell's book or Amazon or
What,
where
the
that book
Avatam
is.
Sutra?
Yes,
The Avatam Saka Sutra?
yes.
Yeah. You can get it at, where'd it come from? Amazon?
Shambhala.
Shambhala.
Well, Shambhala is a publisher.
Shambhala, that's where it came from. Was it available on Amazon? Or you got to get it directly from?
Oh, no, you can go to
Well,
Amazon, you can go to Albris or any of those.
I mean, it is a dense book.
So can somebody that knows how to spell it, put that
It's
in the
written
chat
here
box?
on page number 1. Page number 1 in the title, the Avatam Saka Sutra.
But you were referring to a specific English edition.
Well, you put that up and you'll find it. It's the only one I think available. From Shambhala Publisher. Maybe there's more. I couldn't say for sure, but this is very authoritative. Yes, Rebecca.
I'm trying to look it up.
Okay.
Hang tight. Oh, that's not cheap.
No, it's priceless. All this stuff is priceless. Yeah.
Priceless and hopefully a PDF on the web.
Does that look like what you meant?
It went away. I didn't see what it was.
I put the link in the chat.
Well, let me look. I think it probably is.
The author is Thomas Cleary.
Yeah. Yeah,
Thank you,
that's
Rebecca.
it.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Yeah, that's it.
He just
50
recently
bucks
passed
for the
away.
Kindle edition.
That's right.
He just recently passed away. He was a colleague of Robert Thurman
Oh,
in Harvard.
I read yesterday that Harvard has appointed a new head chaplain, and he's an atheist.
hot dog.
Yeah.
My
And he's-
neighbor's son just went to start his freshman year at Harvard.
he's
I will get the 411 on that for you, my friend.
This guy was previously their humanist chaplain for the last 15 years, but now he's head chaplain of their 40 chaplains at Harvard of leading different faith communities. That was staggering to me. I went to a college where there was one chaplain.
I don't think we had a chaplain.
Well, I think a
May
couple of
explain
months
that.
ago, I shared with you the Tao Te Ching. And I mean, is not the essence of humanism. And it's magnificent. And I thought to myself, gee, maybe that's where I'm headed. I read it 50 years ago, whatever it was. And I said, wow, this is really great. But it's for me, it's harder to be able to communicate that.
Mhm.
It's so subtle, that it's hard to teach it. It's hard to understand it yourself to be able to communicate it to others who need more structure. Not everybody can handle
I
it.
read it almost every night, and I don't know how you could teach it.
Yeah.
It's beyond explaining. It's at a different level. You just absorb it. I feel energy from it, but I can't always if I were to have to turn around and explain to someone what that energy was, I would be
Right.
bereft.
But it's not a supreme being text.
No,
It's
no,
not a
no.
supreme being practice or philosophy.
no, no.
So Gary just said it's not something that can be explained. So instead, here you are trying to explain something that Tom said earlier can't be said in words. More power to you, Lance.
What do you mean? The Buddhism?
Yes.
Well,
I don't
that's-
think, and it just strikes me that all of the Eastern, the variety of Eastern religions all share that theme of not being easily communicated.
they have to be
which-
experienced. That the experience is what we are seeking. It's not the intellectualization. We're through the intellectualization, we're saying, oh, it's not this. Oh, it's not that. Oh, it couldn't be that. It's not this. It's not that. And you're just simplifying until you get to the point of exhaustion. And you say, well, there it is. It was there the whole time. All right. Thank you very much for your indulgence and patience and conversation. I think it was great. I love this. I
Thank you,
hope do
Lance.
too.
Thank you.
I apologize for being late. My computer apparently decided that it wanted to do an automatic update, or it did something. When I logged on, I saw and heard you all for a total of about 3 seconds, and then it went out, and then the Zoom wouldn't work. So
Oh boy.
I was mad. I'll just put it that way.
Well, you know what I've begun doing? I turn on I don't turn my computer off. I put it to sleep, and so it's always warmed. And I turn it on a good half hour, an hour before 7 o'clock, so that the computer can do all the crap it wants to do. And by the time I'm ready to use it, it's ready to go. So maybe you can try that.
Hey, the King of Aspiration Prayers playlist is in it's in the chat box.
Oh, on the YouTube?
Yeah,
Oh, great.
it's
Thank you.
it's roughly 4 hour-and-a-half sessions.
All right. I'm going to copy that and I'm going to email it as well.
Okay, cool.
So,
Good night, all.
all right. Wait a minute. We need to do our dedication, please. Dedication is very important. It's what keeps us pure. There's no selfishness in our accumulation of wisdom and merit. It is all for the benefit of the enlightenment of other beings. So we go to our book, the Karma Prayer. Was it page 18, I think? No, page 20. By the virtues collected in the 3 times, by myself and all beings in samsara and nirvana, and by the innate word of virtue, may I and all sentient beings quickly attain unsurpassed, perfect, complete, and precious enlightenment. May the teachings of the great Trikumpa Ratna Shri, who is omniscient, Lord of the Dharma, master of interdependence, continue and increase through study, practice, contemplation, and meditation until the end of samsara. Om, ah, Om. Om, ah, Om. Om, ah, Om. May my body, speech, and mind become inseparable with the body, speech, and mind of all the enlightened ones for the benefit of all sentient beings.
Thank you, Lance.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
all.
Good night,
Sangha.
everyone.
You.